Oh, hey, good morning. It's Nugget of Truth number 10 already. Nugget of Truth number 10 comes from Job 38. And the interesting thing is, a couple Sundays ago, I think it was, we spent a little bit of time talking about this during the sermon. Job 38 and 39. You know the story of Job and the trials. In fact, we kind of even might use the phrase now, the trials of Job. Someone earlier this week shared something with me that their friend was going through just almost like the trials of Job. I can't remember how they phrased it, but we still make reference to him because his life had such a tragic turn. He had everything going for him, and then just everything was taken away. And most of the book, it's a long book, most of the book is a conversation between Job and his friends, and they're basically saying, what did you do wrong? You must have done something. And while Job is a hero, he never curses God. He does wrestle, and he struggles with it. And so toward the end of the book, in chapter 38, God finally has a chance to speak. And that was the part that we mentioned a couple weeks ago on a Sunday morning. And when God speaks, it's an interesting thing. He rebukes Job, and he basically, and there's even almost a level of sarcasm in what God says. It basically says, well, let me read the nugget. Job 38. God finally answers Job's complaint with a series of questions to show Job that he is in charge and that it is in fact his world to do with it what he wants. He answers Job twice, even after his confession. So again, you might remember the story because we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but maybe not. But Job's complaining. God shows up and says, hey, do you know how to do this? And just ask Job a series of questions. And it's really kind of a beautiful chapter, to be honest with you. It's very poetic in some respects. And then Job says, okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. You're right. And then God says, well, I'm not done. And then he asks Job a series of other questions. Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do this? And were you there when I created this? And so it is a rebuke of Job. And again, it's a tense season, a stressful season. And part of me wasn't really crazy about sharing this nugget because, again, it's kind of almost heavy-handed in some respect. It's a rebuke that God's in charge. And then I realized I was kind of asking God, how do I present this? And I realized, maybe God shared with me, that there's also a rest that's found in this. So I'd like us to focus not on the rebuke that God gives to Job, but the rest that can be found in it. There is a rest that comes when we recognize that God is in charge. There's a rest that comes when we embrace the limitations of our understanding or even what we can do. So I just want to encourage you, if you have the time, Job is in the Old Testament, kind of near the middle of your Bible, and you don't have to read the whole book. You probably know the story, but if you get the chance, read chapters 38 and 39, and don't focus on the rebuke, but recognize the rest that's found in recognizing who God is and what He can do, and our small role in that. And again, it's a freeing thing not to be in charge. And so I just want to encourage you to find the rest in that. So find the rest. All right. Thanks so much. Take care. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Bye-bye.